Hi, I'm Sally Thorner, and welcome to the Johns Hopkins Hospital. Since you're coming here for neurosurgery, we want to show you and your family around so you know where you're going and what to expect upon arrival. Now, adult neurosurgery takes place here at the Sheikh Zayed Tower, which is connected to the Orleans Street garage via this bridge. We also have valet parking at the main entrance. Johns Hopkins Neurosurgery at the Johns Hopkins Hospital has been ranked as the leading neurosurgery specialty in the United States for the last few years in U.S. News & World Report's Best Hospitals rankings. The doctors, nurses, researchers, and staff are all dedicated to advancing the understanding and treatment of diseases that may need neurosurgical care, including brain tumors, aneurysms, spinal cord tumors for adults and children. The first step of your journey is to go directly to the third floor of the Zayed Tower. I'm here with Dr. John Weingart, who's professor of neurosurgery and oncology, and also the director of the neurosurgical operating rooms here at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. Dr. Weingart, thanks for taking the time to show us around.
Sally, it's
nice
great to be here.
So when patients come in for neurosurgery, they and their families come here and they can actually check in on Zayed 3 at the prep and PACU area.
Right, so they'll come in and they come up to the third floor. Right. And then they come in this area here, and then there's a little check-in area here where they'll register, and that'll give information back to the nurses in the prep area that they're here. Then there's a waiting area over to the right, which serves both as the prep waiting area as well as the family waiting area during surgery. And then once the prep nurse has got their area ready for them, they'll come back to the prep area where they get their IV and get prepared for surgery. Now in the waiting area, that's where the families wait during the surgery and where they'll get updates about how things are going. And there are a variety of resources there to help them understand where things are in the surgery. There's a monitor up on the wall that gives a color feedback as to where things are in the surgery so they can have some expectation about what's happening. The customer service coordinator is a person that sits at the desk there and helps the family sort of organize their day. They can take cell phone numbers, so if the family needs to be off the floor, they'll have a way to contact them. And they can also provide other information about food and things like that during the day. And finally, the nurse in the operating room usually calls into the waiting area every hour to hour and a half to kind of give the family an update as to where things stand in the surgery so they can kind of have a feeling for when things are going to end and when they're going to hear some information back from the doctor.
That's got to help. Can we take a look at prep and recovery, doctor?
I think that would be a great idea.
Okay. Prep and recovery, meaning the patients come here before the surgery, and then if they don't go to the neuro CCU, they're recovering here as well.
That's correct. It serves as two functions. The first is a surgery preparing function where the patient comes back from the waiting room that we were just in, gets their IV and has a variety of things that takes place before going to surgery. And then the second function is after surgery, they can recover here if they're not, as you mentioned, going to the intensive care unit. When they do come back from the waiting room in preparation for surgery, this is where the IV is put in. It's where they get into their gown. And then a variety of people will come in and ask them questions. The nurse from the prep unit will ask them questions. The OR nurse will come in and ask them some questions. 2 anesthesiologists will come to visit, and somebody from the surgical team. A lot of those questions are redundant, and they're all for patient safety.
And all the bays are private, by the way.
They're all private. And once some of the IVs put in and the patient's in their gown, then the family is invited back and they can sit with them while they're waiting to go to surgery. And then once the OR is ready, the anesthesiologist will come get the patient and escort them to the operating room, which is right around the corner here.
Okay, can we take a look?
Let's go take a look.
So Dr. Weingart, tell me about the OR.
Well, we're here in our new operating rooms today. We have 9 neurosurgical operating rooms, and we do a variety of different cases. We do major brain surgery cases for tumors and for aneurysms and other brain vascular malformations, and we do very complex spine surgeries also. This particular room that we're in is the intraoperative MRI scan room, and this is a very special room that very few centers have in the country, let alone even the mid-Atlantic or northeastern area. And it has an MRI scanner within the room that can slide out and do an MRI scan on the patient during the surgery. The advantage of that is that the surgeon can get an update about what he's accomplished, and if he had planned to do more, he can then do that during the same surgery. So a big advantage for the patient. We have 9 operating rooms, as I said. We do all kinds of surgery. We do 3,000, 3,500 cases a year. When the patient comes in the room, there are all kinds of people here in the room, nurses, anesthesiologists, different kinds of technicians, and everyone gives the patient information about what's happening. Person goes off to sleep, and then they wake up in the recovery room.
So once the surgery is over, what happens to the patient?
It's a great question. So they go right from the operating room either to the recovery room or to the intensive care unit. And where they go depends on the complexity of the surgery and the risks that follow after surgery. If the patient's going right to the intensive care unit, they'll go right from the operating room to the intensive care unit, and then the family will be able to see them there usually about 45 minutes to an hour later. And there's another waiting room for that intensive care unit, and the surgeon oftentimes will talk to the family there about what happened during the surgery.
Okay, great information, all of it. Dr. Weingart, thank you so much.
Great.
Next stop, the NCCU. We are just down the hall from the OR in the NCCU, and Angie Fuhrer is the assistant manager of the Neuroscience Critical Care Unit. Thank you so much for the tour.
You're welcome. Let's take a look inside one of the rooms.
Okay. So what can patients and their families expect in the NCCU, Angie?
Well, Sally, we are a 24-bed neurocritical care unit. All of our rooms are private, and our team is comprised of nurse practitioners, physicians, nurses that work collaboratively with the neurosurgery team to look at the best way to transition the patient to the acute care environment. We have state-of-the-art medical equipment, which we're very proud of, and our nurses are in the neuroscience acute care unit, and the NCCU are specialty trained to care for the unique needs of the neurosurgery patient during their recovery.
Excellent.
So we have a split screen monitor for each of the nurses to view so they can see both of the patients that they're responsible for throughout the day at any time.
Now, I'm not hearing any overhead paging.
That's correct. The nurses and clinical team actually carry a phone, and with this phone they receive messages from other members of the team. The family and patient are able to communicate with the nurse by pressing the call bell, and they receive that call. The phone also receives alarms from the bed and the cardiac monitor. So it made a great improvement in the care of our
I'm
patients.
sure everybody appreciates the quiet. Now, what about these customer service coordinators? What's that about?
Well, the customer service coordinator is a relatively new role to Johns Hopkins. It is customer service focused. We have one in every one of our neuroscience units, and they meet daily to discuss the expected flow of patients in the department from the various units and try to find ways to enhance the customer service experience for our patients and their families.
So that's the NCCU.
It is. Would you like to take a look at one of our inpatient units?
Great. Not all patients who receive neurosurgery here end up in the NCCU. Some will come here to an acute inpatient unit on the 12th floor of the Zayed Tower. Also, patients who are in the NCCU will ultimately come to these rooms before going home. So Angie, if you could tell us about the care that patients receive in these gorgeous rooms.
Whether the patient recovers in the PACU environment or in the NCCU, they will ultimately come here to the acute care floors. We do have 52 private beds that we can offer. We have a place for the family to stay in the room if they'd like. We also have a bathroom with an ensuite bath and walk-in shower. We're also offering a way to order their meals by using a menu to select rather than having to rely on a pre-selected menu. So we're pleased that we can offer that to our patients.
Right. And also patients' families can order off that menu too, right?
That is correct.
So once the patient's ready to go home, how do you make that happen?
We have a very collaborative team that pulls together to look at the patient's unique transfer or discharge needs, such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, pharmacy, nutrition. We really want to make sure the patient is prepared for a seamless transfer or discharge home.
Great information. Thank you so much, Angie.
You're welcome.
So I hope that all of this information has been helpful for you, because the goal, as always, is to provide the best, safest care possible for patients and their families. Thanks for watching.